Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. Welcome back. I'm so excited for you guys to hang out with Courtney and me again. We had a previous episode together and you guys loved that one. And I'm really, really excited for her to be back on. I haven't had a repeat guest in ever, I think, maybe once. I actually don't even think I have. So this is super special to me. And I just love the way Courtney approaches life and the things she shares and how she shares it. She is a coach and she really looks at the lens of people through a self-compassionate lens. And so that lens is on today's episode as well, which surrender requires a lot of that. And she just really approaches different, almost self help topics with a really unique, special lens, a very human lens, a very understanding lens, and really flips things on their head a little bit to help you see things in a new way, to help you actually hear things you maybe have heard before, but in a way that you haven't heard them, so that they can actually land. And when you hear the idea of surrendering, I'm sure you've heard it a million times. I'm sure you've heard, oh, just let go. Oh, just surrender. Oh, just give it up to the universe. But so many times we aren't doing that because we have internal parts that are scared and that need our love and support. Or, we haven't given ourselves the space to do it in a way that's actually kind. And so today's episode about surrender is about how to let go and the importance of that. Yes. How to give things up to the universe. Yes. Why we're afraid of it and why it's important. All those things. But even more important, how to do it even when you want to control and you're so scared to let go, when you're so scared to trust life, when you're so scared that things might not work out for you. How do you deal with those voices? How do you deal with those parts of you? How do you cope when it feels like all you do lately is feel like you are out of control? And so, for anyone who feels like they're a little bit of a control freak or worries a lot or struggles to let go in life because they just want to grip at it, this episode's for you. And I honestly think this episode is for anyone. We talk a lot about self compassion and internal family systems and these beautiful perspectives that really tie into how to surrender in a way that doesn't neglect the scared feelings we feel, but does honor the fact that there is a beautiful path waiting for us and that it is possible for us to live it. And so I hope you guys just give Courtney the warmest welcome as you listen, and I'll include all of her information in the show notes so you guys can check out to that last episode. But yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you enjoy this episode, and let's dive in. Hey everyone, I'm back with Courtney. Courtney, welcome to the show again. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me back. Like I just told you, I'm so pumped.
I know we were talking about how we both love to jam and nerd out about what we like to talk about. So I'm excited for you to be here and to talk about these lessons. And it was interesting when you messaged me because surrender has been on my mind in a different way. And our last episode, for anyone who hasn't listened, was on self-compassion and shame. And that too was like we turned two topics, and like you turn two topics into ones that people hear about into ones that are like so much more like helpful for people to understand. And I feel like this is the same. I feel like a word you hear a lot of, like how to surrender, how to let go. Like I feel like the way that you're talking about that is a way that, I don't know, it just makes it's very different to hear it this way. And so I'm really excited for us to talk about that today.
Me too. I feel like my understanding of it and how to let go, how to surrender has evolved so much. And yeah, there's like levels to it for sure. When you start, first, it's a lot of like intellectual surrender, which helps. And it's like a good start. But then it gets deeper and deeper and a lot more spiritual, at least for me. And so yeah.
No, 100%. No, I love that. So let's dive into that in a second. But I want people to know a little bit about who you are if they haven't listened to our last episode. And I guess like you can talk a little bit what you do, or just in general about like what it means to be Courtney.
Yeah. Um, so I'm in Portland, Oregon. I grew up here and I have had such a weird path as far as like professional life because I just like never knew
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. And I took like all the most random classes in college and then I was like kind of fits under like sociology umbrella, you know. My dad was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." But all my credits kind of apply there, you know. Um, but yeah, I ended up going back to school to get my master's in teaching, and that's what I've been doing mostly. Especially the last few years, I've worked in an elementary school teaching English language development, which used to be called ESL, um, to kindergarten through fifth graders, which
Mm.
I love, and it's really hard. And yeah, that's what I've been doing recently. We'll probably get to this in the episode because there's a lot of surrender involved with this topic in my life right now because our school district laid off like 120 or so teachers going into this next school year. So they had like a huge, like deep cuts in the district, including me. So
Oh,
I
no.
know it's honestly good and it's scary, but it's like I feel really good about it for the most
Yeah.
part because of how much surrender type work I've been doing. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And then my boyfriend and I got a puppy in June, like right when school ended.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that's my life. That's probably also why I'm so excited to talk this morning because my whole life has just been like puppy parenting and it's hard and it's my first puppy ever. So I'm just like, I can't wait to have a little bit more of my life back eventually. But right now it's a little hard.
I know. I remember when my family, they got a puppy, they were literally like, I mean, I haven't had one because I was like, I know what it requires, and it takes so much out of you. It's like a child. Honestly, kind of is one, and like, there's just so much that goes into that, and like training them and all the things. It's like so cute, but like it's so much work. It takes up your life, and you can't leave your house the
Oh
way
my
you
God.
can with the dog that like can be home. I
Yeah,
guess you
it's
put
been
in a
really
crate.
isolating in that way. And my sister just had like an actual child. I mean, he's
Yeah,
like 1.5 now, but she and I like relate more than ever on what that's been like for her. And
yeah,
it's obviously different, but puppies are kind of like really hard at the beginning. And I did have people DM me and be like, it's harder than a newborn baby. I mean, that's probably subjective, but they are mobile and babies just aren't for a
yeah.
while. And
No, I know.
puppies, you got to chase everywhere. You got to be so vigilant.
I know, I know. My parents got a new dog. It's funny because I just like experienced dogs through them because I'm like I can't do it right now. But they got her at age 1 instead of getting the puppy, and like it's crazy like the difference because the puppy was like I can't even tell you. We'd be like sitting with it, like have all family board, like rocking it to sleep before bed for hours. And I was like, this is actually like not okay that this is not like a child because it's taking everything out of us like a child. Like
Yeah.
we're all on deck for this dog. It's
It's
like
a
so
lot.
stupid.
It
Yeah.
really
So
is.
I'm with you. And I know you know how to make pockets of time for yourself and like do those things and take care of yourself. So I'm not worried about you, but I do empathize with you
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I was curious too, which you've already covered about like what's going on in life. I'd seen some of your TikToks, and I was like, I feel like some new stuff's going on with Courtney and like in your life. But I also was like, I feel like Courtney's having a lot of like new learnings come through. It was so funny. I just had like an energetic like I was like, I need her to come back and talk about it because I was like, I feel like you're going through a season right now of more learnings, and it's interesting because all the things that you had gone through before kind of really taught you about that self-compassion and shame and all that stuff that you talked about, and I feel like this is another huge learning for you. Yeah, I could kind of feel virtually, I was like, I think Courtney's like got some new learnings and stuff.
Definitely going through it.
Yeah, but I like the way that you like alchemize things and how you move through things in such a way of like, how can I take care of myself and how can I better myself? I feel like you don't fall under things and let them like take you. I feel like you really rise to occasions and let them like change you, and so that's really special.
Yeah. My boyfriend could, tell you about how I do definitely freak out and fall. And I look at him and I'm like, I think I need to go to a mental institution. That's like our classic line that we say all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have like these acute, like triggered moments where I'm like, everything is over. I'm doomed. Like my body, it's like trauma response stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like once that evens out and I've been able to regulate a bit, then I'm like, oh, I got this. Like life isn't going to do me like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or just like, it's just not helping me to like feel victimized. And I hate that feeling of just like life
Mhm.
happening to me rather than for me. And like every time I get triggered, I do feel like that. I feel like I'm getting like attacked by life. And that's been like a huge lesson for me is realizing I'm not getting attacked by life. But it always comes up at first, for sure.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
go through a lot of those like really dark moments and then come back to like thinking straight for sure.
Yeah, I realized I was like a kind of side topic, but still within like a emotional authority in my human design. And I always thought I was sacral, and I do still have a piece of that, but like I'm someone where like I feel like I would get really big emotions and I would act on the top of that because I'd be like, this is how I feel. This is like really strong for me coming through. And then I realized I'm like, that's just like impulsivity. And now I always give myself a few days like to let the big emotions settle in because it's crazy how you respond to it differently when you're like a little bit more cleared, regulated, and like and the decisions you'd make instead then versus when like you're freaking out like
Oh
about
my
getting laid
God.
off
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotions are so confusing the way they like hijack us. And I'm not emotional authority. I am sacral, and like
Mhm.
I'm like non-emotional, I guess, in human design, which I think means like I'm always picking up everyone else's stuff, or just like really open and
Yeah.
receptive in that way. So it is like I have to find moments every day to just go be in my own energy, even if it's just in my
Mhm.
car for like 5 minutes. And I was like made fun of at my job for that all the time. Like my friend would always text me and be like, "Are you in your car?" Because if they didn't find me, I'm like, I'm in my car, probably crying or just like letting, just pep talking myself and clearing some energy to like remember who I am and what's important.
No, totally. I love car time. And today, since it's Labor Day, I'm like, after this, I'm like, I'm gonna give myself the day to just like have a Madison day. And I was like, I think I'm gonna go get food wherever is open, sit in my car, and then like go lay outside at a park and just literally do nothing. Do
Yeah,
nothing. So
that sounds so nice.
I know it's needed. But I would love to talk a little bit more, as much as you feel comfortable with, because I know it's kind of like maybe it's not as touchy anymore about getting laid off and like what's currently going on in life, but like what season of life are you going through slash like lessons are you kind of experiencing of surrender in your life? Like what's kind of happening right now in your world?
Okay, so before I knew about getting laid off, which was more around like May-ish of, the spring, I
Mhm.
started going so like in March and April, I just like one day I went to it's called Forest Park. It's like this gigantic park in like an urban setting in Portland.
Yeah.
But when you're in there, you don't feel like you're near the city at all.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, and especially in the spring because everything is like the winter runoff is heavy and the creeks are flowing and it's just so gorgeous.
Mhm.
So I went there one day and I just had like my own little like spiritual experience in there, and I was like crying, not like, I just waited till like no one was around, and I was like, I need a release. Like nature is so everything for me. I'm a
Mhm.
Virgo. I have a lot of like earthy stuff in my chart.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I really needed that. And then I started just going back and back and back. And I was going there, if not every day, like 4-ish times a week. And every time I was just like feeling like so present because nature really calls us into
Yeah.
presence, and also just held by something bigger. Just I
Yeah.
always, when I'm around trees, I feel connected to something else. And um, I also was like learning a little bit more about like the divine feminine. I had read like this Mary Magdalene book,
Yes.
and yeah, and then I'd always like I didn't grow up religious or anything, so I didn't have like God conceptualized as only masculine or anything like that, but
Mhm.
tapping into the feminine a little bit more and like picturing myself being held by like this really compassionate, nourishing, just unconditionally loving energy
Yeah.
was very healing. And not just picturing it, but kind of just like feeling it like in the woods, which sounds so weird, but that's what I was feeling. And I was like, it's crazy because I kind of had like my little spiritual awakening around age 30, and I'm 37 now. And it's only until now that I'm like, realizing how much I've projected onto like the universe or whatever you want to call it, that like almost like what I would have projected from my own parents. Like I'm
Mm.
either doing good or I'm doing bad, and if something good happens it's because I've been good, and if something bad happens maybe it's because I've been bad, or like it's just like weird and like punitive and not unconditionally loving. And so spending that time in the woods in the spring, I was like really connecting to yeah, just like this divine, unconditionally loving feminine energy. And it was so healing. And then when I feel like my like soul was like calling me to go there every day before like I was getting the news about the big change coming. So then when I knew that I was most likely getting laid off, like even just responding to that news differently than people around me, where I was like, it's gonna be okay. Like whatever it is, it's
Mhm.
not gonna help me to freak out or worry. And like, of course, I had my moments of like, is this what does this mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I've just really had a deeper sense of like really embodying more of a surrender lately, where it's just feels like everything that I was only intellectualizing before
Mhm.
has grounded in me more. And then I've seen different ways that when I let go I'm okay, and I just trust it more too, like my trust
Yeah.
muscle has built. So yeah, like it's just, I don't know, it's just like in me more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. When you got was that before you got laid off or was that after the experience?
Yeah, so I started going into the woods every day, like, a couple months before.
Oh, okay, so it was already kind of, like, moving through you before
Totally, and that
that
gave me a
experience.
real sense of, like, peace and, like, I don't know, maybe I sound like a freak, but I was just like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay," because, like, I started going into nature, and I'm, like, just on this different, like, wavelength right now. Like, I
Mhm.
really was, because when you spend that much time in nature just for the sake of, like, letting yourself be who you are, exactly who you are, it's really healthy for, or very healing for your shame, very healing for self-compassion. So I was able to like take that news with just like, I'm okay, I'm held.
So when you found that out, did you have a freak out moment? Were you like, "What am I gonna do?" Or were you more calm? Or how did you feel?
I felt more calm than anything, and then I've just had, like, moments where, it's like I feel like I'm really into IFS, so I see it like,
Mhm.
I know a lot of people would say, like, the ego, and I'm fine with that too, but I also think of it as, like, a scared inner child part of me sometimes has these moments where she's like, "Are you serious? Like, are you kidding? Are you not thinking about, like, everything that could go wrong? Why are we not planning more? Why are we not like just acting on this every moment of every day? Hello." Like she gets
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
And then I just have to like parent her, give her some compassion, validate her. So yeah, every time I have those moments, I'm like, oh, it's just an opportunity for that. And we'll be back to baseline.
Was she very, like, stressed about, like, just, like, next steps? So, like, "Well, what are you gonna do now for, like, jobs?" And, like, "What are you doing with your life?" And, like, like, did those voices come out?
Yeah, definitely in like those like little triggered moments, or it's not even necessarily from a trigger, but like usually at night, for example.
Mhm.
I won't have it for like 4 days or something, and then like one night she'll be like, what are you doing? What's going on? Are we
Yeah,
like she'll just get panicky, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but overall, I will say, like, and my boyfriend told me this too. He's like, "You are handling this so much better than you would have a couple years ago." And I'm like, "No, I really am." Like, I think it's just from having more and more practice of surrender and like seeing how, like, when you do let go and you do stop worrying, or like, not
Mhm,
stop
mhm.
worrying, but like you soothe your worries and then you try to, um, just control only what you can,
Yeah.
which is not much, and continually let go. And then you see how things fall into place. And a lot of times better than you could have imagined because you're getting that like smaller self out of the way who tries to
Yeah,
fix it all and control it all. And I mean, God bless her, but she just can't do as well as everything we're connected to, you know?
yeah. Ugh, I know. Did you so, like, with it being, like, your inner child, do you feel like, um have you always, since you were young, been controlling? Have you always been somebody who's stressed about the future, like, that voice that comes from within you that's, like, the inner child that's like, "We gotta do this. I'm stressed about this." Like, has that always been a part of you since you were younger, or has it been different as you've gotten older?
Yeah, I think it's like yes and no, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I can see that it has, but I also wasn't always consumed by it, but I
Yeah.
was always, like, a worrier, and I don't know if you know Enneagram, but I'm, like, an Enneagram 6, like,
Okay.
worst case scenario thinking, and, like, I would get obsessed with, like, asteroids when I was younger, or, like, when 9/11 happened, I was convinced there was going to be like anthrax in the mail. And I was like telling my dad, be careful, like opening the mail, So I would like get latched on to like a worst case scenario and then like think about it all the time. Definitely
Yeah.
kind of like some mental OCD stuff. But yeah, like my house, like my home wasn't it was kind of like up and down, like emotional explosions sometimes, even though my parents are great, they just got like stressed out and they didn't know how to like
Yeah.
regulate their emotions. And there was like a lot of yelling and fighting type stuff because when you get in fights and you don't know how to regulate, that tends to escalate.
Yeah.
So I didn't always feel safe at home and I didn't feel relaxed at home. And so I would have like I loved school because at school I knew the rules and I knew the expectations and you weren't allowed to yell. And then like they're like, teachers would just lay it out for you. This is how you get a good grade. And
Yeah.
I loved knowing that. And I loved the control of that. So I was like, I can control that. And I was just
Yeah.
like a little, you know, academic little Virgo nerd. So I just loved school. So I love the control there. But then I also think about like when I had a lot of moments in my childhood, I also had like a really good childhood of just like play, a lot of like cousins and friends and just
Yeah.
feeling really free and like making things up and just playing for hours outside and riding bikes. And so like I had so many times of just feeling very like spontaneous as a kid of like, oh, I didn't know we were going to be doing this today. And like I just remember always
Mhm.
loving those moments because I'm just living, like wild and free. And like, I love that feeling too. So I feel like I've always been connected to both. It's like
Yeah, I see that
control
now.
definitely like makes me feel safe. And I've used it as
Yeah.
a coping mechanism for sure. But then when I do remember that it's not all on my shoulders to figure everything out in life, like I love the exhale of that.
I know, 'cause thinking about how, like, you're like, "I wanna go lay in nature," and, like, I feel like it sounds like it feels so good for you and, like, you want that, but then you notice the control coming in, and it really is a coping mechanism. I feel like I've noticed in my life, like, when I'm just living life and focused on my life and enjoying it and, I feel so free, and then there's that voice that comes in, and it's kinda like this gripping feeling of, like, "Wait, like, have you listened to me in a while? Like, are you thinking about," like, it's really like the thinking brain, I feel like really wants to come in and like do and like create and like take over, especially like there are things in my life I'm still like working on or want that haven't come to fruition yet. And control will come in and be like, wait, it'll really try to like exert
Yeah.
mentally. Which sometimes can be tricky because you want to listen to your brain more than your body and like what your body needs.
Well, yeah, and it comes up with all these like dire problems. Like it's like this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And
Mhm.
then you want to go into like problem solving mode, or like you just start believing it and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't even think about that. And so it's hard when, like I always say, my mind like knows how to get me, and like it like it can be so convincing, you know? And when it brings up points, I'm always like, well, that is a really good point. Like I should probably think about that, you know?
Yeah.
And then I go down this like thinking path. But yeah, when you said like it's like that voice comes in or this part of you comes up and it's like, have you listened to me in a while? Honestly, I feel like that's the key to being able to stay more surrendered than not, is like just listening to that voice, like just giving it some attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think that if we do that, we're going to have to like offer it a really good solution, and we're going to have to take action, and we're going to have to, or like whatever it's feeling when we go into that and listen to it, then we're going to have
Mhm.
to be in that feeling for so long. And like, so we just kind of avoid it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that I've found has helped me embody a sense of surrender so much more, is just listening to those parts of me that are giving me evidence of why they're scared and why I should be scared. And just saying, wow, that makes a lot of sense. No wonder you're scared. And just being like, I get it. That makes a lot of sense for everything that you've been through and everything that you've been, you know, kind of conditioned with your whole life. Like, no wonder you're scared. That's okay. I get it,
That's so
you
interesting you
know?
say that. I haven't even thought about it that way because I feel like I'm like living a life where I'm just like listening to my body and I'm doing the things that feel good and getting what I need to get done and like just in my flow. And then the voice comes up and it's almost like I switch lanes. Like when I listen to that voice, I fall into its lane of then I'm taking action from control and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about everything and I'm planning and I'm strategizing and I'm not living for my body anymore. And I can almost like feel tangibly if I'm like living in that surrender state and if I actually listen to it instead,
Mhm.
then it's not taking you into its path and making you move from a wounded or a fearful part. You're
Yeah,
just holding it as you continue on your already kind of like surrendered intuitive path.
totally. Yeah, I know. I feel like I, like, first learned about the topic of surrender and when I was 30. So, like, 7 years ago, and since then, I've done what you just said, is, like, I just get taken over. Like I have like a good intention to
Yeah.
surrender, but my fear has just always won. Like I've just been living from such a survival mode, like fear-based place, like even with like content creating or trying to be, or like having a podcast or trying to be creative in some way. A lot of that even gets wrapped up in this fear stuff for me, where I'm like, I realize that I'm doing something from this place of, if you don't do this, like your life's never going to be like good, or like it's always like this, you got to do this or else type
Mhm.
thing. And that's how I like recognize it now, is like, am I doing it from this, like, I feel like I got to or else, like I know I'm coming from fear, and I know then I'm just being reactive to my
Mhm.
fear
Mhm.
instead of like actually creative, you know?
Yeah.
And not to say that it can't be creative when you're being reactive, because it can, but I do think it puts you in a little bit of a quicksand place, because it's kind of like that like Einstein quote where he's like, you can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking or consciousness that you were when you created it, or like when you're in it,
Yeah.
you know? And you can't, because it's like what you're really holding there is like fear. Like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. I'm not going to be okay. It's all on me. I got to figure it all out. And if I'm not okay, it's my fault. And so there's shame and there's fear, and it's like so much pressure, and that's like all under the surface. And like that's where I've always been moving from, like my it feels like my entire life. I'm sure some years in childhood I wasn't, but yeah, it's like that's what I feel like I'm kind of recovering from, and like
Mhm.
finally starting to like be so much more aware of it, and so much more kind to myself about it. And it's just like baby steps, and I'm sure today I'll get off this and go do some stuff out of fear, like you never
Yeah.
know. But for the most part, I'm like just kind of setting my direction a different way of like, okay, we can do things from a place of fear all day, or like, how else can we parent this little kid, you know?
Has that been like the
Initially.
main shift for you? Do you feel like parenting it, or like what has shifted surrender in your mind from being something that was hard to do now that is feeling easier for you?
Yeah, I think it's really like time after time after time after time of going in and giving like your inner world attention, whatever that looks like for you. And for me, a lot of what it is like I feel like I'm communicating with a little inner child part of me,
Yeah.
and doing that over and over and over and over and over, it's like that part of you starts to trust you more, you know, and they actually start to feel seen and heard and understood and not judged over time, to where they're like, okay, maybe you do like care about me. Maybe you do know what you're doing.
Mm.
Maybe I'm going to be safe. Like, you know, and it's like building that secure attachment with that part of
Mm.
you, which can't happen without consistency and like doing it over time. And I've definitely had periods where I wasn't being consistent, and then I would go back to it. And it's just like, I think it just compounds. Like every time you do it is never wasted, and it all adds up. And then you like slowly but surely get to a place where you're like, oh, I'm doing a better job with this, or like I feel a little bit more calm about something that would have freaked me out like a year ago, you know?
Yeah, totally. I'm reading this book called Why We Meditate. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Mm-mm.
It's my friend told me about it. It's so good. It's up there for me with like Untethered Soul and all
Oh,
those other books.
cool.
It's so good. But it talks about like kind of the process of feeling your feelings and self compassion, and like how to like the way that we're trying to like fix how we feel, how to actually be with it. And it talks about like the first step of which is so simple, but of like letting it be there and letting it be unfixed and letting it exist. And then the second step of just like offering it a hand and just letting it be there. But so often like we don't even, the controlling feeling comes up and we automatically try to fix it. We try to run from it. We try to, we're trying to, we don't ever just let it like just be. And
Yeah.
it, because it doesn't, and it's never learned from us that it's okay to just sit there for a second and be and have space in the room. Like we always are shutting it out and adjusting it. So how is it ever going to feel safe?
Totally. Yeah, I actually, okay, so it sounds so weird to me because I've
Mhm,
always been such a Tara Brach fan, and I
mhm.
love like the reign of self-compassion, like her little
Yeah.
acronym she came up
Yeah.
with, what's RAIN.
You're an acronym girl. I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
recently I came up with this little acronym that I've been using, and I like posted about it on TikTok, and I was like, Courtney, who do you think you are? You're not Tara Brach. I was like, don't come up with an acronym. That's so weird, you know? And then, but then I've just been using it all the time for myself, because I find that I really do need like an anchor when
Yeah.
I'm triggered. Like, oh my God, like I can get so lost in that. So, like, an anchor of like letters to hold on to
Yeah.
and remember, like, okay, yeah, this. So, my acronym is the word patch. And the first letter is P, and I just think immediately I'm being the parent. It's time to parent, you know? And that is so helpful because immediately I stop only identifying with my scared small self. And then I remember like there's a wise, compassionate, like very calm, nurturing part of me that is always in there. And I'm like gonna let her have some space now to like look at the scared self and observe what's going on there and start to parent. And as soon as I remember the P, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be okay because I do know how to do this.
I
And
love
then
that.
the second one, which just made me think of it when you said, like, can we just be with it, is the letter A. And I said, we're going to ask two questions for the letter A. A stands for ask. You're going to ask, is it okay that this is coming up in me right now? This comes from Michael Singer, and I took it from his book. I'm like, I highlighted this years ago, and I was like, this is actually so key to just be like, is it okay that this is coming up in me right now? Because normally we are automatically saying no. It's not okay. I hate this. I hate this feeling. I hate feeling this tense like chest. Oh, I hate all of it, you know? So just remembering to be like, is it okay? The answer has to be yes. always. Like we just have to let it be yes, you know? So is it okay it's coming up? Yes. And then the second question that I think I got from Peter Crone was just like, can I be with this? And then when I ask, can I be with this? I really take like a minute to sit there and be like, where am I feeling it? How uncomfortable? Because I always answer the question, I'm like, I can be with it, but yes, it is highly uncomfortable usually because my nervous system is like going, and I'm like, yes, but am I going to die right now? No. Like I can be with this, you know? And then just being with it, I think is everything because it's like that part of us just doesn't get that type of attention often where it just someone actually sits with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like, we got to fix you right away. Like, you can't be like this. You can't be having these feelings. And like, think about how we all had that as like a kid at some point. Like, you can't be feeling that. Like, what do you need? Like an apple, something like, just something to get you out of it. So it's never okay. It's like we automatically have to get rid of it or fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a question people ask so often is like, how do I get rid of this feeling? You know?
It's such a yeah. Whenever I hear that language now, I even for myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, fix, get rid of.
Yeah.
It's
And
very
some same, like, and so many years when I did like practices like this, like Tara Brock's Rain, I realized that I was only doing it to get rid of the feeling. And so sometimes it wouldn't work at all. And I would just come out of it even more anxious because I'm like, it didn't work.
no, totally. And I think that's the scariest thing of it all. It's like when I've been doing this like self compassion like work, I guess it's almost like it's not about getting rid of it. It's actually being with your experience and actually being present with it and accepting it, which
Hmm.
is really hard because something I've struggled with is that I'm like, if I actually am here with this, first of all, I have to feel it and I don't want to.
Yeah,
But second, does that mean that I'm accepting my life as the way it is now? Because I don't like it and I don't want to accept it. And so if I'm with it and I'm letting it in and I'm validating it, does that mean I'm validating my life that I'm not liking? That I don't want
totally.
it to stay this way?
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's so counterintuitive. Like, it really is. Like, it feels like if I just be with this and let it be okay that it's here, like I'm settling,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But what we're doing by always trying to get rid of it is we're saying this isn't okay that I'm like this or that I have this or that my life is the way it is right now.
Mhm.
So basically we just keep perpetuating more of the same
Yeah.
because we're constantly saying it's not okay and I don't like it. So we're just in resistance.
Yeah.
And that is also just like a fear-based place. It's kind of like this lackey scarcity place. And then we try to scramble out of there.
Yeah.
And it's coming from an escaping energy, like I'm trying to escape where my life is at now. I'm trying to escape this feeling. And it's like, if we could just be with it, and it literally could just be 1 minute that you're just being with it, makes a huge difference.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
that it's so like counter what we would think it would do, but actually doing that leads to more change. Like actually doing that is where we see growth, you know? And
Yeah.
things actually start to shift and we see them unfolding differently and we're like, whoa, like the moment I let go and surrendered and just let it be okay exactly where I am right now and exactly who I am right now and exactly what I've been feeling lately, I just let that all be okay. And I gave myself some love and acceptance exactly where I'm at. And it's like, I feel like it's like this thing of like, then we just like flow. We start to like fall into the natural flow of life and we can like
Mhm.
join that divine current that's always running. But when we're scared, we're like grabbing onto the banks of the river and we don't let it move us. And we're just tightly holding on and we're wondering why nothing's changing.
I sometimes wonder, and I always think about this as like when I'm acting from my wounded parts, my control parts, like it feels like it's helping, but I'm actually like, is this taking me out of the divine? Like, if I'm not moving through life with trust and surrender and like, is my like in my control thinks it's helping me get further to what I want? Like, I'm like, I actually think it's not putting me on my right path. I think it's,
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I don't think we can ever like not be with the divine, because I think
Yeah.
we all have it in us, and
Yeah.
like we're always being supported always.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think that if we are taking action from that place of like, I'm not okay, my life is not okay, I need to change. And, if I don't do this today, I said I would do it. Like, and if
Mhm.
I don't, I'm not like this and or else type energy, all of that. It's always going to reinforce the fear, you know? Like you're
Yeah.
just, when you take that action, you're reinforcing the belief that's at the core of it is that I'm not okay. So I got to do this. And a lot of
Yeah.
times it's really sneaky or subtle and we don't even notice we're doing it,
I
but
know.
we are.
I know. I think honestly, a lot of these moments where I felt like when it comes up, I don't know if you feel like this, but I'm like, sometimes I just think it's like, it's almost just these opportunities of being able to like heal that it's like giving you in your life where I'm like, it's keep saying, hey, I need attention. Hey, I need attention. Like, and we're looking at it as like, hey, like, be quiet. Hey, like, stop. And I think that when I have actually taking the moment to listen and like be there and love it and like honestly healed a lot of things within, I feel like I've integrated into more of a full human or
Hmm.
like a solid human and like a whole human versus like I still have my parts but I don't feel as separated. I feel
Yeah,
more whole in ways that I didn't know I could feel.
totally. Yeah. And it's like you really just feel that over time. And it's not like, it's hard to put words to that, but it really
Mhm.
is just like this slow integration. Like every time that you see that part of you come up that's scared and you give her love and validation is such a key thing for me. Like if I
Mhm.
don't validate, nothing's going to get like relaxed. When she is clenched, I have to say, I see why you're clenched. It makes so much sense. And then she tends to unclench. She's like, thank you, like
Yeah.
you get it. So, and I feel like that's so common for so many of us as kids. Like, no one, like, and people just didn't know, so they didn't
Mhm.
look at us and say, that makes so much sense why you're feeling that way. It's okay. Like a lot of times they just didn't have time for it or whatever. So we're all craving that validation that our feelings are okay.
Yeah.
And I can confidently say like 100% of the time your feelings are okay. Like whatever it is, however ugly or freaking weird it is, it always makes sense why you feel that way. There's always something that like makes sense about it, maybe from your past or from what's going on now. And like I think I just had to realize that with myself, like because I just judged myself so much for being sensitive or having so many feelings, or when I had feelings having such a hysterical reaction sometimes. And then I just had to be like, Courtney, it just always makes sense why you're having whatever you're having, even if it's weird, even if you are being a little hysterical, like, duh. Like, I just kind of have that like no wonder energy for myself. And then she would just be like, yeah, like no wonder, and it's
Yeah,
just such an
totally.
exhale.
Oh, I know. It feels so good. And I'm curious about because we talked a little bit about this on the last episode, but how there's been times in life for you and for me as well where we felt like behind in life or like we are something we want is taking so long or we're struggling with the same thing over and over for a long time. Like I think you mentioned in the last one being single for a few years and like also both being coaching and doing that world. Like how do you continue to validate yourself or like release control when it feels like it's like this endless thing where you're like how do I keep trusting, how do I keep letting go, like when it's not just like something, if the control just keeps coming back up and it's
Oh
like
my God,
you're in it for the long haul on this and I don't like where I'm at and I want it to be different, how do I keep releasing that?
yeah, I know. Like the main thing I could say about that is like, in some ways, it just feels like you're a slow learner. And I say that because one time I got pulled over in college and I passed, like I wasn't drunk driving, and I passed like the sobriety test because I told him I drank earlier in the night. love this fun side tangent for me. And then I already had an MIP, minor in possession. So and he could see that in my like thing, you know? So he was like, are you just like a slow learner? And I just remember being like, excuse me. But then I always think about that with like spiritual progress is like, it's okay to be a slow learner. And you kind of have to be in order to have like these really sustainable changes.
Mhm.
And when you say like sometimes it feels never ending, I definitely have those moments so often. And the inner child in me is like, we're getting fucking nowhere, dude. Like, hello,
Yeah.
we must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like you'll feel like that sometimes, and then you'll keep doing your integration work. And then you'll have like a weird little breakthrough that comes out of nowhere where you're just like I said, like you find yourself going to the nature park more for some reason, and then like something's integrating, but you didn't expect it. And then it'll be like weird for a while. But I think all of it ends up like taking you where you're going. It's just that sometimes it's like, okay, I want to say sometimes we're delaying it, but at the same time, sometimes I think that's okay too. Like it's part of it, it's all part of the learning.
Mhm.
But the delay often comes from all that resistance of just focusing so much on what about now that I don't like and how I want to change it and how it's not
Mhm.
changing fast enough,
Mhm.
and getting caught up in all the anxiety and fear of that,
Yeah.
because like I said, it does just kind of perpetuate itself.
Mhm.
So if the anything I could offer when it comes to that is the more that you can just like inundate yourself with love and compassion and acceptance for exactly where you are right now, the quicker or faster you're going to move along with the river. And the more letting go practice you do, the better you're going to get at it. And sometimes it will just feel really slow and weird and like just not a lot of like signs of external progress, but you're going to
Mhm.
feel like major internal progress sometimes, and that'll keep you going, you know?
Oh my gosh, the internal progress is crazy. It's
Hmm.
crazy, and it feels so good. It feels so good to have one of those breakthroughs or feel like something finally shifted within you that you've been wanting to shift for so long, but you didn't get there by forcing or being mean to yourself. You got there by like allowing. I think
Yeah.
every time I've had an allow, and not just my brain, but like a deep body allowance of like, it is okay to be here and I can be here as long as I want. Things come quicker, but not because
Yes.
I tried to get them to. It's so
Yeah.
backwards.
I know. It really is like that. What are those things called where you put two fingers in?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then
I
you're
don't
like,
know.
yeah.
Are they like a Chinese thing, or
Yes.
I don't know, but it's like where you have the two fingers and you try so hard to pull them out and they won't come out. And then as soon as you just like relax and just like slowly inch them out, it's like easy.
Yeah, I think about
That's surrender in a
Harry
nutshell.
the Harry Potter first movie. Have you seen that where they're like falling through the thing and they're like, "Run, relax," and then it works. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, like the devil's
yeah.
snare or whatever. Yeah, it's
Um,
exactly like that. Also, this summer I also got really into Tosha Silver's work. I don't know if you've heard of her.
no, need
Oh
all
my
the
god,
yeah.
you're gonna love.
Okay.
Yeah. So she writes about surrender, and also it's like in a deeper way, also more embodied, like more practical advice. But one of her main things is about offering.
Mm,
So she always talks about offer it up, like you offer everything up to the divine. Any worries, anything that your brain just keeps like bringing back to you and back to you and back to you. And like I picture, she even did like this Google talk for one of her books, and she guides like this little 5-minute meditation. It's on YouTube, and she's just like, picture like you're holding the problem in a little cup and you're just like offering it. But the thing about that that's so powerful is that it's not, and she explains this so well, is like you're not just offering it to like something outside of you to solve it and just being like, you take care of that. Like a, you know, like I feel like a lot of us, I didn't have a relationship with prayer before. So I thought that that's what prayer was like, God, please help me. Like, please solve this. Like, I just give it to you and then I'm going to go about my life.
yeah.
But like with offering things up, it's like you're also offering it to like the divinity inside you, to the wise part of you, to the like
I love that.
centered,
I'm writing her
calm part of
down.
you that leads from love.
Yeah.
And so every time I like remember that I can, like, no matter what's going on, I can always offer it up. I have this, it's kind of like this, like, conscious check in of like, where, how am I approaching this? Like, what am I coming at this from? Fear or love? And
Mhm.
like, am I believing the universe is out to get me and is punishing me right now? Like, when I remember to offer it up, it's like I also remember who I am. And I'm
Yeah.
remembering like who I truly am, like that there's part of me that's limitless and live like literally is abundance and is love, unconditional
Mhm.
love. And so when I remember that, it's like I remember how I want to respond to whatever's in front of me. And it's like also remembering how resourced you are, that you're connected to everything. So
Yeah.
why scramble, you know?
Mhm.
So every time I offer
Yeah.
something up, it's like this exhale of like, oh yeah, it's not all on my shoulders. And if I can remember to come at this from love, I'm going to see that there's something here for me, you know?
Yeah. I like that a lot, 'cause I mean, sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm like, what is like trusting the universe? Or like, um, I struggle with that sometimes still, of like letting go of, to like trusting this force. I'm like, who is it? What is it? Like,
Yeah.
I'm tangible. I know that I can do it, so I want to do it. And I think that's such an ego thing. But I'm curious of like, what does it look like for you to like trust the universe? Does that ever feel like lofty to you, of like, I'm just gonna let this thing like dictate my life and like figure things out for me, and it's not me? Like, sometimes that just feels like, oh, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I think the thing that simplifies it for me the most is like I believe that like at my most natural state, I trust the universe just inherently, and
Mhm.
it's just the fear that's getting in the way of that. So every
Mhm.
time I soothe that fear or validate it or have like, I literally just consider it like I'm having a parenting session with that part of me, and like then I just feel like trust come back in, you know?
Yeah.
And there's been like, for example, with this job thing, like with being laid off, I think of like, what would be me not trusting the universe? And like a couple years ago, I would have been applying to like 50 jobs a day. And just, I see it as like this frantic, like digging in the ground energy of like, I can't stop digging or I'm not going to be okay. And like, that's the place I would take action from. And then I would always settle for a job that I didn't even really want or have good vibes about, because I was like, what if nothing else comes? Like, and
Yeah.
like, that's what it looks like for me when I'm not trusting. And I feel like it's all on my shoulders. It's like all these consistent limiting beliefs come where I'm like, I believe it's all on my shoulders. I'm not going to be okay. If I'm not okay, it's my fault. Like all these things. So it creates so much pressure. And when I feel any sort of fear or pressure or that clenching, tensing energy in me, I know I'm not trusting.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, parenting. Um, in our apartment building this summer, we also had like a curveball thrown at us because one of our neighbors that was like directly across the hall from us, and we've lived here for like a year and a half now, have had zero problems with this person. They've always been like so kind, chill, normal, funny.
Yeah.
And they basically just had like a really acute mental health crisis to where I think they probably have bipolar, and like it was like manic episodes and a lot of like yelling and screaming and just like really intense. And my boyfriend and I were like scared to leave our apartment because we're like, are they going to be in the hallway? Like, what is it going to be like? It's just like the unpredictable feeling of it. And then it kind of obviously encroaches on your feeling of safety at home. So at the height of it, and it's kind of gotten resolved in different ways, which I'll tell you part of it, but at the height of it, both of us were like, this is a nightmare. Like, what are we going to do? Like, it takes a lot for apartment buildings to like evict someone, and like it's always a slow process. We can't control what this person does with like a medical plan or getting on medication or anything. But anyway, I reminded my boyfriend one night, I was like, okay, we're not alone. We're more resourced than we think we are. And I'm talking about outside of us, and inside of us.
Mhm.
We gotta like remember to come at this from not just like this fear, panicky place. And I even pulled like a card from like this oracle deck that I have from Tosha Silver. It's called Divine Beloved. And I pulled a card, and the card said divine assistance on it. And then it's like has this like change me prayer where it's like change me into one who can remember that there's always like divine assistance, or something like that. And so I just felt like myself really coming to this place of like, I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to offer, not let it go because how could you, but like, I'm going to offer it up. I'm going to remember to come at this from love. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to take care of my inner child when she's scared, because it's okay to be scared when someone's like yelling and screaming in the hallway. It's
Mhm.
okay. We had to pass that apartment in order to get out of the building too. So it just felt kind of like this trapped feeling.
Yeah.
It really was really scary. Um, and then we kind of took turns, my boyfriend and I, with surrender. Cause like then I would have like the next day, I'd be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so scary. And he'd be like, yeah, but remember what you said. Like, we're not alone. We're going to be okay. Like, something good is going to come from this.
Mhm.
And like for a while, we just thought like the good thing that was coming from it was like we were just getting like a chance to be like good neighbors and like be the type of neighbor we would want if we were having a mental health crisis, and like be kind and hold her in high regard even though she's not in the best place right now. um but then things like started escalating again, and our apartment complex offered us to transfer units, which we both of us were like, I don't want to do that. Like, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to move. We already have a puppy this summer. Like, moving sounds so exhausting. And then we kind of both sat with it for like a day, and then it was like this peace just like washed over. And both of us were like, wait, I think moving might be really good. It might be really good for us. And like we stayed on the same floor, but we moved to the exact opposite corner unit. And it's like a block outside, like it's a full block away from her. Um, and like the people that lived here before, we were friends with them, and they were like, they had no idea any of that was going on down the hallway. So anyway, we moved. It was exhausting for 2 days, and then it wasn't. But everything about this place feels better. Like, it was a total reset for us. We got rid of so much stuff. We did a deep clean. That felt amazing. And then the side of the building that it's on, it does not get beat by the sun all day like our last one. So in the summer, and like we have AC like portable units, but not like central air. So that is like huge. Like, it feels like a 10 to 15 degree difference every day. And I remember offering that up earlier this summer where I was like, what am I going to do about the heat? Like, another summer in this building with no AC, like I'm scared. Like, and I remember offering it up being like, just whatever, like it'll be okay. It's okay, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
blah. So anyway, this being in this building, or this apartment unit in the building, feels so much different in so many ways. There's also a balcony, which we didn't have before. So like there's just like I could list so many benefits of the move, but at first we were like resistant to it. And of course, at first we were very stressed by everything unfolding.
Mhm.
But yeah, sometimes it's like you just ride this wave, and you surrender and then you don't, and then you surrender and then you don't. And then it like, as long as you can keep like this openness, even just being willing to be open. And I always just think of it as like an open palm instead of that clenched palm. If you can just like keep coming back to that, it doesn't matter how many times you F it up and clench again. Like, if you just keep coming back to it, keep coming back to it, you are going to make progress, and things are going to fall into place in like ways that you didn't even imagine. Like, I was on the balcony the other night, and I was like, I had no idea I was going to move this summer, let alone like, this is so weird to me that I'm sitting here. Like, I used to see my friends sit up here, and I'm like, I never thought I would live in this place. It's just really weird the way it all unfolded, but I love it now looking back.
Thank you for sharing that story. I was so locked in that entire time because I think it's interesting how when we try to like like what you thought the outcome was going to be, or like this is where I think I'm going to, you know, like be able to get through this, is like being a good neighbor, and how um it always comes in a way that we didn't really plan, and maybe we don't even
Mhm.
recognize it first. It kind of comes in through the side door.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's everything in life. It's like we're really trying, when we try to, you know, control, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna surrender, we have like a vision still, like a little bit of control of like what we think is gonna happen. And then it's so interesting how like it doesn't. It comes in this, it's like you're walking and doors are closed, and all of a sudden one just goes whoop and
Yeah.
opens, and it's so easy. And it never,
Yes.
you know, you never thought it could be that easy.
Yeah, and it really does come with that feeling of, like, ease and, like and peace, like, almost this feeling of, like, "Wait, this is right, like, this feels right." But I
Yeah.
didn't this isn't what I thought it was gonna be at all. It
Yeah.
really is, like, this 3rd option that came out of nowhere, and, like, that's the best thing about being able to, like, practice with all this is that you find yourself getting delighted by life a lot more. And, like, that's one of my favorite feelings is being delighted by whatever comes about because as much as I want to control and plan, like, I do believe sometimes we have a good idea of what we want, but at the same time, we don't know what we
Oh,
want, you know?
100%. It's so interesting. Like, we'll wrap this up soon here. I want to be aware of your
Yeah.
time. But I remember relating to your job stuff. I remember I've been laid off 2 times in
Mhm.
the last like few years. And every single time it's literally send me in a panic of like financial and figure out my life, and like, oh my gosh, I don't have things figured out. And I remember when I was I got out of a job, and I was like, I don't know, well, they laid me off, but I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. And I did the same thing. I was constantly applying and constantly applying. It's funny because the amount of work I was putting in could have given me, that could have given me 100 jobs, and it gave me nothing. Like no one responded, like rejection letters, like nothing. And I was like at 6 hours a day sending off emails and cover letters, and it was all I did for months. And you know what's so interesting is my mom was like, hey, one day she goes, there's this girl who is really similar to you. She's kind of entrepreneurial, but she works at this like agency as a part-time therapist and part-time writer. And she's like, you're great at writing, why don't you reach out to the company? I was like, no, I don't want to do that, I'm not doing that. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I really love to write, and that's like something that I do well, and I every job I've done, like that's been a part of it, and I like it. And so I ended up applying, and they got back to me like the same day, and the position was like contract, so I could do my other entrepreneurial stuff and then along with it. And it was for like writing for Sephora was like the client. I grew up wanting to be a makeup artist, so I was like,
Oh my god,
okay,
funny.
interesting. And like the call we had was just like I could just feel it. Like the call we had was like they just were so open, and they were so curious about learning about me. And I knew in the call I was like, this job is mine, and it was so easy. And they emailed me right after, like, we're ready for you. Here's this, and like it's been like so lovely, and it's so interesting like how I was pressing on all these doors, and all I had to happen is like someone just my mom just being like, oh, what about this? Or like there's those moments I've had in so many times in my life where it's like I'm trying my way, and then this sweet little thing comes through the side door. But we don't want to hold out for that, so in
Yeah,
the meantime we're pushing. um
totally. That's exactly it.
yeah.
That feels like a synopsis of what it always feels like. 2 things I really wanna say about that. Trisha Silver, her book that I started with was called Outrageous Openness,
Okay.
and every chapter is, like, 1 or 2 pages, and it's just like a story. It's just like an anecdote of these kinds of things, which I think our brains really need. We
Need.
need, like, examples and lots of different ones to see, like, "Oh, there is that always that 3rd thing. There is always that thing that comes out of nowhere or a different way of dealing with it than I've always dealt with it. And then seeing how it ends well, like a little fairy tales, you know? And like that book really put me in a good mindset for this summer. Um, all of her books are really good. I think there's like 3.
Mhm.
But then the other thing I really wanted to say is like it's so similar to like what my dating journey was. Like the way you said you would do so many applications. It's like I thought about and researched and did so much work on like how am I gonna like change myself or like get
How do I
healthier.
put myself out there?
Yeah, how do I not be so sensitive? How do I do this and this and that? Like, how do I be more feminine? Like, just I've listened to every freaking podcast you could ever think of when it came to dating and listened to so much bad advice and like
Mhm.
just put so much time and energy and thought into it. And then also dated so many people that were not right for me because I thought, what if no one else? And, all the fears and just
Mhm.
going by fear, basically. Just, and I don't want to say I wasted time, but it was that energy of like a lot of hard work. And so when it comes to surrender, and then when I met my boyfriend it was just like easy. Like, and it was through a dating app. It wasn't like a unexpected meeting,
Yeah.
but it kind of felt like that still because like I just had like my friend was talking about an app and she was like going on a date that weekend and I was like, that sounds fun, like I want to go on a date. Like it was the June, I was like, summer date sounds fun. So then I got on the app and it was like he was one of the first profiles I saw. And a lot of people were always like repeats on there. And so I was just like, yeah, looks like someone I'd want to talk to. And then it's just been easy ever since. And it was not hard. A lot of the things that we like actually are good for us and meant for us are not super hard, or even if they come with challenges or some work, like it's still got this like sense of peace to it, or like this sense of like, no, this is good for me though, you know, like this is serving me in some way. So it really comes down to like, do you want to work really hard and struggle and just like think that it's all on your shoulders and you got to take care of every single piece of it and put all that effort and energy and try to control everything? Or do you want to let yourself stay open to what life could also contribute to you and be delighted by it, you know? And so just practicing that and keeping that awareness and being like, no,
Mhm.
it is something I want to do is really stay open. That willingness is everything.
What do you think is our part versus the universe's then?
Hmm. I think it's our part to do what we can to stay open. And sometimes that might mean taking like a little bit of action
Mhm.
just to, you know, soothe that day. Um, I think it's our part to continually be soothing ourselves and parenting our little inner kid or inner children. Um, and then, and this is something Tosha Silver talks about too, is I think it's like an Eastern term or something, but it's called sponda. And it's when you know that you're supposed to take action. Like it's just when you get hit with like a
Listening.
download or like a zing comes through you, or like,
Mhm.
or all of a sudden you just have the energy for something and you're like, I didn't see myself doing this today, but like I'm doing it, because I just have the energy for it. It feels right. And it's just like that feeling of like things are like this and then they click. And then
Mm.
you're like, I'm following that, you
Yeah.
know? And there's often not that much thought even involved in it. And it's like
Mhm.
something's moving through you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of our part is just to be open palmed as much as possible. Cause when we're clenched, it's harder to feel the sponda. It's harder
Yeah.
to feel the rightness of things because we're scared. And when you're scared, it's
Yeah.
hard to feel much else. So yeah, that's why I feel like it always comes back to parenting yourself and soothing yourself. But then you can feel something guide you and then click.
I love that. That's exactly. I feel like you take your steps from listening, stay open, soothe yourself, and then the universe will just give you signals and keep guiding you. So
Yeah. And you
I love
can't get it wrong. Like, even if you do take a bunch of steps out of fear, join the club. We're all doing it all the time. Like, you can
that.
never get it wrong. Like, you're just always going to learn from it and just like
Mhm.
laugh it off, forgive yourself, say, hey, we're learning. We're little kids. We're like, you're learning how to walk for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's got to be so much grace.
Yeah. Well, is there anything, um, I don't know, anything else that we haven't covered that you want to talk about? I feel like we've covered a lot of different things, self-compassion, like all the different parts of control and surrender. But is there anything else like that's been on your heart learning or anything about this that you feel like you haven't been able to speak on that you want to?
The only other thing that just came to me is like, I feel like when I studied abroad, when I lived such a surrendered experience. I had so many cool things happen to me, like so many, just like I felt so carried by like the river of life to like just right place, right time type of things. And I would always look back and like romanticize those times in my life and be like, what was I doing? Like, cause like I know like traveling is always like, or not always, but it can be very magical for a lot of people. But I just felt like it was my place in life where I let go of control because I was in a foreign country and I maybe spoke some of the language. And I didn't really know where I was. I was like lost all the time. I would look at maps and still have a really hard time reading a map. And I was just like, you know what? Like, just live, just walk around, you know? So I just did a lot better with letting go of control in different
Mhm.
countries. And I think what's that one of the main things that taught me was like I looked at it as such a gift to be there because I don't get to travel all the time and my parents had never been to Europe. So when I was there, I was like, this is a huge privilege that I'm here.
Yeah.
Like I might, who knows if I'll be back. Like, this is so cool. And then I had the attitude of like, not only is it such a gift, but it's temporary and I'm going to go home at some point. And so I think even if we're not traveling and we're just in kind of like the same humdrum life experience, as long as we can bring like that potent sense of presence to it and slow down, we can kind of get that same mindset going of like remembering this is a gift that I'm here. This is a huge gift, even if it's freaking weird. And there's like, you look around and politically and, all the things going on, you, you gotta, it's a lot, but then you also say it's a weird experience, but it's a gift
Yeah.
and who knows what the hell's going to happen, but it's also temporary. And at some point we're going home. At some point we're going back to wherever we were before we got here. So I just love that like little parallel
Yeah.
to like keep that mindset in everyday life is like, this is temporary and it's a
Yeah.
gift. So that really helps me with like surrender and letting go and being kind to myself. Cause if it's temporary and it's a gift, I don't want to be mean to myself the whole time.
No, it makes you want to be so grateful to like feel anything at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where can people connect with you? And if there's anything you have coming up that you want to share, how people can work with you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm on Instagram, but like I mainly just post like the puppy and like life stuff on there. I do like update about my podcast episodes on there though, but it's Courtney Cries a Lot.
Mhm.
And then it's the same on TikTok. And then my podcast is called the same too, Courtney Cries a Lot. So
I love that. I
the
love
main
that
place I
handle.
say,
I was
yeah.
trying to find you and I was like typing your full name and then I was like, oh my God, I remember it's Courtney Cries a lot.
Yeah, I just like changed that on a whim one day, and sometimes I'm like, "Is that so weird?" But whatever. Like, I do cry a lot, happy and sad, and like, it has been. I honestly think one of the main reasons I wanted that when I did was like I wanted to like uplift crying as like a very important healing thing, and I just think there's not enough of that in our culture.
Yeah.
And like crying has been the best for me. Like it has somatically healed me in so many ways to grieve and to cry and to like just let myself just completely surrender to the grief, So that has metabolized so much pain and trauma for me. So that's part of why I did that. But
I
yeah,
love it.
people can follow me, especially on TikTok and my podcast. I think my podcast is where I'm the most myself, like long form and being able to just like relax into it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I will include everything in the show notes so people can easily click and hang out with you. But thank you for coming back. I didn't know where the episode was going to take us, but I feel like it got to so many places, even more so that I was like, "Oh, this is so good. This is so
Oh,
good."
good.
That even I feel like I really need. I'm going to go spend my day journaling and like processing a lot of this and being in nature. I'm going to go to like the woods after this, I think now. But thank you so much. And I think like just a personal thought, I feel like there's a lot of people out there in the in the spiritual world, and I think that the way that you approach it just feels so real to me. It feels like real human loving advice, and we need the woo woo stuff. I can be into that, but sometimes like I just feel like the way that you approach it, like um you just bring so much more of a human like loving aspect to that world, and it feels like supportive and tangible, but it also, you know, it does connect to those other pieces,
Yeah.
but it just feels really nice to hear. And I think that what you do is, and just like how you are and how you talk is just it's really, really, really special. And I just
Thank
really,
you.
really appreciate you being here and talking about it, because as you know, it's really, really helped me. So I am just really, really grateful.
Thank you.
So
That means a lot. And I
yeah.
think, sometimes I get hard on myself for how insecure I can still be or how, just all the feelings.
Yeah.
But that probably lends itself to sharing the way that I do because I'm still insecure. I still don't know what I'm doing.
I even think about everything we talked about when we post. Those are parts that come up that need love too. Like, oh, I want to take that down. Oh, you're gonna be seen. Oh, you're saying something dumb. It's like, I've been
Yeah.
trying to just be like, no, it's okay. Like, it's
Yeah.
safe to be seen. I love you. I'm not gonna let you,
Yeah.
be alone in this. So I think those are even parts to love back into wholeness. And because what you're putting out there is like, as an outsider, it's like this is like this needs top notch stuff needs to be in a book. I haven't seen another perspective like it. So it's
Well, thank you
important.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I just get it from everyone else that I read. So
But then you process it through your own unique filtering system, and then you give it out in a way that
true,
how
true.
you've learned it, and then it's your own way, and it delivers in
Yeah.
that way. So I'm the same thing. I'm a bunch of random information, but it's how I've learned
Yeah.
it and remembered. I think other people can hear, and it's through our own systems.
That's true.
So
It's like a synthesizing always going on.
yep, totally. So no, be sure in that. I mean, yeah, your content is incredible, and like how you approach the world is incredible. I mean, even if it's other people's information, you're like so obsessed with learning it because you want to help. So that is you,
True.
So yeah.
True.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much. This was so fun. I love talking about this. I could talk about it for like 5 more hours today. I just want to
I
find someone that will listen.